tools of deception too, pulling to extremes. In the previous article, we saw that the enemy can hinder our progress in the narrow path by using the tool of falsification and overtaking in order to prevent the fulfillment of the true events and blessings of Yahuwah. He is thus able to hinder or even thwart our race towards the goal with an additional strategy, which is none other than to deviate our trajectory to the right or left in order to push us to the extremities. It is through the process of the Reformation that we can once again observe the functioning and the harmful consequences of this demonic work. Dualism and Cold War. One of Satan's best tools to deceive mankind is undoubtedly dualism. He divides and then creates animosity between the parties. With each step that mankind makes in history, he offers two camps, the one of insufficiency and the one of exaggeration. Communism and capitalism, left and right, anarchist and fascist, etc. History has shown us lots of them. Beginning with Rome, several great empires of the world have succeeded in preserving their power on the basis of this principle of divide and rule. When the time comes for the restoration of a truth that arises in the hearts of certain believers, and Satan sees that he cannot prevent its fulfillment, he sometimes also chooses the tactic of letting things happen and not of getting ahead of them. He stops for a moment and allows things to go on their way. He let people get out of churches, causing divisions, so that the renewed believers can start their own new movements and churches. Then, using the run-up force of these renewed Christians approaching the middle path, he suddenly comes up from behind and gives them a good kick in the back in order to swing them into the other extreme so that they would not remain spiritually balanced. Because when a split occurs, accusations, exclusions, disputes, cursing, damnations, and even physical persecutions often begin. In any case, those who want to be renewed are designated as heretics, rebels against God, and are damned by those who remained in the previous spiritual state. These accusations greatly wound and weakened those who desire nothing more than to pursue the path of sanctification in obedience to the Spirit of the Messiah. It is precisely these wounds that the enemy uses to reintroduce human domination instead of the exclusive guidance of the Holy Spirit, thus creating a mixed spirituality among the freshly reformed ones. Because the wound is transformed into hatred, then hatred breeds war, then from the war arises a constant need to justify oneself. This self-justification throws a human veil over what was originally coming from the Spirit. Thus the new reforms become dogmas which are managed by human wills and no longer by the action of the Spirit of Elohim. Moreover, little by little, we begin to grant those reforms a disproportionate importance and sometimes even making them a condition for salvation. This is how reforms become dogmas and dogmas become conditions of salvation. Here come into play all kinds of excesses and all sorts of unbiblical Christian phenomena and functionings. Well, this condition affects the member of the communities from which these renewed believers come, thus acting as a confirmation that they were right after all of not going out with them and remaining in their churches. This freezes them even more in their state of spiritual deficiency, which also adds to the extremism of the other camp in a never-ending whirl. The differences become more and more extensive and virulent. generating a spiritual chasm that goes on increasing like an infernal spiral. External witnesses seeing this situation, non-believers, often have no choice but to side with one side or the other and take part in the fighting. Or what happens more often is that they simply choose to stay in the Word because they see that something went really wrong in the Christian world. This is how we prevent many people from repenting and converting to Yahushua HaMashiach. Some examples of these dualistic extremisms. Without further comment or explanation, let's examine some of these extremes. The list is not complete, and for better illustration, it does not contain exclusively Christian tendencies and camps. Perhaps this will help many people in determining where they stand in relation to the only right and middle path, which is Yahushua HaMashiach himself, and where it is worth stopping, perhaps turning back or moving on, always bearing in mind that even the truth is distorted by the enemy. Since the spiritual state of a person is too complex to be considered and analyzed in two dimensions, we must pay attention to the fact that we can be affected in several categories at the same time, so that we can deviate from the steady state of the Holy Spirit to more directions. So let's see these examples. Overheated charismatics versus anti-charismatics. Gospel of prosperity versus gospel of austerity. Tongue speakers versus prophetizers. Fans of Jews or Philosemites versus Anti-Semites, the followers of the theology of replacement. Rightist, leftist, Republican, Democrats, legalists, antinomists, that means libertarians, doctrine of the stern and ruthless God versus doctrine of the ever-loving and all-forgiving God. Those making witchcraft from the Last Supper versus those reducing it to a mere symbol. Sabbatist versus Sunday Christians. It must be said that the devil always hides in half-truths, so most of the time the opposing camps clash on the basis of all biblical but apparently contradictory truths. The best tool of generating these disputes are those of Paul's statements that are seemingly contradictory and often difficult to interpret. These are the favorite Bible verses of the enemy that he is using in order to divide the body of the Messiah. So the solution is not to nullify the arguments of one side for the benefit of the other, but both parties must recognize that something is wrong with them as well and accept it in humility in order to settle the problem before Yahuwah in Yahushua HaMashiach. We must take what is true from one another and leave all of false doctrines. This is how a convergence can begin, not by accepting the differences, but being freed from human excesses and being put back under the full guidance of the Spirit of the Messiah. Because even ecumenism is such a false overtaking, which instead of working on true unity, where cleansed of all impurity we find ourselves in one Holy Spirit, does nothing other than mix everything in order to dilute and finally dissolve the truth. Today, symbolically, I am posting this article on November the 11th. May there finally be an armistice day also in the body of the Messiah.